This presentation has been put together to provide professionals with strategies to support children in the early years with Down syndrome as they transition to a new school or setting. Development in children with Down syndrome. It is important to understand that whilst most children with Down syndrome will have delayed development, development is not fixed at birth. So what we do as practitioners can have a great impact on how well a child will succeed as they go on through life. We should have high expectations of all children. Down syndrome should not be seen as a barrier to this. If we consider the strengths and difficulties of a typical learner with Down syndrome, which I will share on the next page, it makes it easier to understand why some strategies are more effective than others. If we can build on the strength of these learners and acknowledge where their challenges lie and plan for this, we are more likely to ensure they are able to succeed. This slide shows a typical profile associated with Down syndrome. It is important to note that strengths include visual memory, reading, social skills and self-help, and these should be built upon when planning for the needs of children with Down syndrome. Take some time to consider strengths as outlined on this slide. Typical strengths include social understanding, empathy skills and social skills, self-help and daily living skills, visual short-term memory, and reading. In order to fully support any child with Down syndrome, we need to be aware of the areas in which they will experience most difficulties. These include hearing and vision, speech and language, verbal short-term memory, learning from listening alone, and number. More information about these areas is contained on this slide. Other important areas to consider. If we look at the central part of the profile as detailed on slide 3, we can see that motor skills and information processing are challenges that need to be considered. So while self-help is a relative strength, it is important to remember there may be difficulties around the fine or gross motor skills which make it more difficult to complete. In addition, whilst visual short-term memory is a relative strength, the fact that information processing as a whole presents as a need can be a barrier to learning, which means that a child with Down syndrome requires much repetition and overlearning in order to progress. The strong social skills can mean that a child is sensitive to failure and negative emotional cues and may use social skills to distract to avoid difficult tasks. We are now going to consider strategies which can be used within the classroom to support children with Down syndrome, using their strengths to help support their areas for development. Firstly, we will look at how we can use visuals to support. Visual learning is a strength, and this should be used to support children with Down syndrome in the classroom. Ensure all learning is reinforced visually. Photos and pictures can scaffold learning and help to prompt learners with what they need to do. Ensure instructions are reinforced with the visual prompts. Visual timetables help to plan their day, and clear rules supported by visuals help to reinforce expectations. Support speech with signs or pictures. Makaton can use to support communication and give children who are not clear with speech the opportunity to communicate. Use talking tin lids or recordable whiteboards to record instructions so that children can continue to hear back what the instruction is when they have forgotten what they've been asked to do. Use pictures to support reading to enable children to attach meaning to what they are reading and associate that text with that image. Make learning multisensory. Attaching a visual to an activity will help children to learn. Secondly, we will consider the role social skills has to play in supporting children with Down syndrome in their learning. We have already heard and learned that children with Down syndrome are extremely sociable and they learn well amongst their peers. So do ensure they are included in whole class and group teaching and feel included in a class environment. Use role play to encourage speech and also to help reinforce rules and expectations through emotion cards and with friends. Have high expectations for all learners, especially these children with Down syndrome, where work is presented in a format which plays to their strengths. Our learners are very capable. Our learners will follow what their peers do, and this can support them when learning how to behave. Planned ignoring is important when a child with Down syndrome makes a wrong behaviour choice, as it shows them that that behaviour they have exhibited will not get attention, and so they are less likely to repeat it. Give them roles of responsibility such as handing out equipment to raise their kudos within the classroom and support their independence. Give them a job you often forget to do, as they will not forget and will remind you if it is not done. Act out stories to attach meaning to storybooks. Sit them in the front in teacher eye line to ensure they are able to see and hear everything. Exhibit patience. Children with Down syndrome require overlearning to ensure they retain the information. Other support strategies have been detailed on this slide and include things such as considering seating plans, resources. Do they need enlarging? Do you need to have additional visuals? Ensure your language is precise and clear. Where possible, introduce pre-teaching. Introduce vocabulary that the children are going to meet later in their learning before it comes up in class so that they are prepared. Ensure there are opportunities for overlearning. Provide movement breaks, the opportunity for children to develop their gross motor skills. Always be consistent and maintain high expectations. Praise is an excellent tool for supporting our children.
Reading. From early on, we encourage the introduction of books. This develops language and gives structure and pattern. It takes the burden of thinking about what they want to say or are more likely to speak as only thinking about how to say and not what to say, and it's very personal to them. A good way to introduce books is to make books about the child and their family. Use repetitive simple sentences in the books to help them learn language structure. Start with things like I went, I like, I can, Mum is, Dad is in, I look at, I go to, and I can get. We recommend that you make one book a week, read one page per day, and use photos of your child. Reread each page each day and then Friday send the book home. Home returns the book on Monday to reread and a new book is started. Build up a bank of books that can be read and reread and that are personal to them and their family.
We also recommend playing games to help children to learn words. These can be matching games such as Snap, Bingo, posting pairs so that they can get familiar with what the word looks like, or selecting games where they play hide and seek with words, mixing up letters to remake the word, pointing to, or finding. Remember to make these games kinesthetic so that children want to do it and are engaged.
Transitioning to a new school or setting. Ideas to help support transition are creating an All About Me profile. This is where we can think about our children, discuss the child's strengths and the things that people admire about them. What strategies may help and support them, what they love to do and enjoy doing, and what they are not so keen on. Here we have an example of a one-page profile.
Other transition support ideas include making a photo book of their new setting or classroom, or their new teacher or staff that they'll be working with. You could look at if they've got to wear a new uniform or follow the route of going to school before they actually have to do it. Extra planned transition visits are also a good idea so that the child can go to their new setting when it's less busy or meet their staff when there's not other children around. Also, these staff may like to make a home visit to see the child in their comfortable home setting.